All right, welcome to Wages and Warriors. We have another UFC card this weekend. We're 1 week away from a UFC 315, two title fights in that card. But before that, we have Cory Sandhagen versus Deiveson Figueiredo for the bantamweight division. It's fourth ranked fighter versus the fifth ranked fighter in that division. Pretty packed up top in that one. Then we have Bo Nickel, the rising UFC prospect, coming up through the rankings, and he gets a ranked title, not ranked title fight, a ranked fighter fight in this one. He's obviously working up to that title fight, but a lot of stuff interesting. I like a lot of underdogs in this card, which probably means I'm going to be Vegas' best friend this weekend, and that's okay because sometimes you have to be to get it all back. Also, new Bull Crew episode released last night, going over which receivers we think will make the 53-man roster for Los Angeles Chargers. A little surprise on who we don't think it will. At least I don't think will. So go ahead and check that out anywhere you get your podcast and on YouTube. But let's get back to the Octagon. Big stuff coming up this weekend, and we'll just go through 3 fights that I kind of find interesting. Again, like all big plus money, so, hopefully I don't get burned, but probably will. Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Daniel Rodriguez for a welterweight fight. Santiago, 31-8, 17 wins by KO, 9 wins by submissions, 14 for first round finishes. He's 2-2 in his last 4 fights. Both those losses were by KOs, TKO, so you kind of maybe worry about a weaker chin heading into this one. But very well balanced fighter. Obviously has a very good record, but he's facing Daniel Rodriguez, who, he had a kind of a tough go where he lost back-to-back fights, and he kind of looked like these were looking dim. Anytime a guy loses back-to-back in the UFC, you wonder where you're at mentally. Can this guy kind of bounce back? And because at that point, it's more of a mental game. Really, it really is, because you have the skills, you have the assets to be successful, but is there a mental block that's stopping you from kind of taking that extra step, and or is Father Time catching up to you, and there's that little voice back in your head saying that you can't do it, and can you overcome that? But after losing back-to-back fights, he beats Alex Moreno, and his just striking is unbelievable. Rodriguez is. It's 7.5 strikes landed per minute. Takes a lot of damage, though, when you kind of strike like that, so it's 5.47 absorbed during that time. But he faces Santiago that's pretty good in his own, 62% significant strike defense. In this one, I think Santiago's the slight favorite in this, which is understandable because of his record and kind of like his pedigree. But I look at Daniel Rodriguez and I go, your last outing, you looked fantastic, even though you lost back-to-back before that. And your striking is just literally off the map. It's and it's better by far than Santiago's. So if that's better than that, and I'm getting plus money at plus 110 to bet on you to kind of, get a little bit of bounce back, and Santiago's coming off losses where he's gotten KO'd, and that's a weaker chin. And if you can find it, that kid's going to go night-night. I'm going to lean on Daniel Rodriguez to win this fight, and that's at plus 110, and I'm going to take that all the way to the bank. So I like it in that one. A little more underdogs coming your way. Rainier De Ritter versus Bo Nickel in the middleweight divisions, the next fight. Obviously, people know who Bo Nickel is. He's undefeated in the UFC. He was this, goated college wrestler at Penn State. Just absolutely very polarizing. Very someone the UFC is trying to do whatever they can to make the next superstar, and he is going to be a superstar, but they're just slow playing it, right? They don't want to just toss him some dangerous fighter so early in his career that he's not really ready, because he's still kind of develop his stand-up game. But his stand-up game is pretty sharp. He's knocked guys out. He looked pretty good in his last fight. It was I don't want to say it was bad, but it wasn't as exciting as his other ones, right? So he has 5 first-round finishes, right? His last one was the first time it goes the distance. Anytime you're used to just nonstop quick action and nonstop just, hey, it's going to be fireworks at the end, and then it isn't. Your popularity takes a hit, and a little bit of fandom kind of slows down just because that one didn't end up in fireworks. That one didn't end with the bang. That kind of stinks. But either war, Bo Nichols is incredibly talented. Obviously, if you want to go ground game on him, it's, good luck, buddy. That's his realm. You kind of want to keep it up top with him and try to keep it a striking match. And if if he gets caught in a striking match and he doesn't really feel comfortable, he's going to shoot on you nonstop. But he faces Ritter, who's 19-2. He's on a 3-fight win streak, back-to-back submission wins. His striking's pretty solid. It's not, his calling card. His calling card is his takedowns. It's 6.89 takedown average. He has a reach advantage in this. He is a veteran in the MMA world. He's a former one champion. Now he's in the UFC. he faces a guy that is very comfortable if you go for the takedown to kind of stay down there, to kind of go ahead and figure out if you make it kind of a wrestling bout. He's fine with that. You want to just make this all, where we're on top of each other the whole time, no pun intended there, then absolutely let's do it. And Bo Nickel, the only thing that I kind of just don't really like about this, it's Bo's, first test against kind of a ranked guy. He's very talented, but the popularity I think shows in this line, and he's going up against a guy that's been a champion before. I know it's not the UFC, but he's been one. He's faced better fighters. He's more well-rounded. And you're going to give me 3-1 for him to win? That's where I kind of go, I don't know if I want to back Bo in this. Because Bo, everything you want to take with Bo, it's super spiked. It's super high, and it's just you're going to have to lay a lot of juice, and is it really worth the squeeze in that? Versus Ritter, you get 3-1 no matter what. And he's probably the more smarter fighter, you would say right away. And then, Bo Nickel's fighting with American Top Team, so he's learning a lot. And, it's grappler versus grappler, and you say, well, I lean Bo on that. But it's grappler versus a guy that's 19-2. Not a guy that's unranked, that's trying to himself rise through UFC. I mean, Ritter's trying to rise through UFC, but he's got more miles on him. So I lean Ritter plus 300. I think it's a kind of a crazy bet to make. I, fully acknowledge that. And there's a reason why Nickel is a favorite. I think it is because of his talent, but also because of his popularity and because of the name that is with Bo Nickel. It's just too much. And that's a similar kind of tail to the story in this next one that we're going to talk about in Sandhagen versus Figueiredo at the bantamweight division. And sorry if I'm butchering that. My, English is hard. But Deiveson is a former champ. Remember, he had his matches. He just moved up to the bantamweight division because he did like 8 matches, it felt like, with Brandon. Them kind of going back and forth with who takes the title. It was a fun run. That division's just kind of, it always feels like there's either one guy at the top or there's 2 guys at the top that's really running it, and they're running into that problem now. But that's a story for a different day. But he is 24-4-1. His striking is, similar to the guys we last talked about. It's solid, but it's not his calling card. Since moving up to the bantamweight division, he's 3-1. His only loss was to Peter Yan, and congratulations to everyone did. Everyone's taking a lot of L's. Toma last year, Merab got up top, or like O'Malley clipped him. But I think, in that rematch, let's see who actually does win that. But he does do a lot of damage on the ground. He took Peter Yan down early in that first fight, and it kind of looked like, oh, he's going to kind of control this. And then the rest of the fight, I mean, it was just, Yan just kind of rocked him, and he dominated it from then out. But I think he kind of goes in that same strategy with Cory Sandhagen. Cory Sandhagen is known as one of the better strikers in this division. And you see it with the numbers. I mean, 5.02 strikes landed. He has 7 wins by KO. He has 6 first-round finishes. He's coming off a loss to Umar, but, in my opinion, in the bantamweight division, it's Umar and Merab, and then about 50, stairs, 50 buildings, and then the next guy. I think Merab's just going to walk through O'Malley again. I really don't think O'Malley stands a chance in that fight. But Cory is the fighter that you take on to get in that next level. His striking's amazing. He has taken down the top guys before. He's always been floating at the top in his career. He kind of needs this win to kind of keep his name in that category, maybe keep his name close to a title shot. Umar has a broken hand. How long is he going to be out for? When he's going to come back? We will see. I think what Deiveson has to do is keep it from being a stand-up competition. That's just, if you find an opening with Cory, you kind of got to take it and you got to shoot on it and do whatever you can to make sure it's not just a boxing fight. Make it an MMA fight. Do what you did with Yan, but instead of losing the other rounds after that, win the other rounds after that. It's easier said than done. And the other thing that was just kind of fascinating, if you liked Figueiredo in this fight, he's at plus 425 to win. And maybe that's because of how dominated he got versus Peter, and also because of the talented fighter that Cory is. And then, the moving up in weight too as well. But he's really, really strong. Don't sleep on that strength of his. By decision, it's plus 800. Now, I do think if Cory loses this fight, it's not going to be by being finished. I think he's going to go all 4. His conditioning is very, very well. I mean, that guy can run for miles. He's got lungs that could smoke a whole pack a day and still run a 6 flat mile. But I think he's just this price that he's being placed at, I think doesn't match the volume of fighters. I think it's a lot closer fight than the numbers show. And I think it's closer to a toss up than a certified lock for either way. So at the plus 425, I am going to take it at a decision. I'll probably sprinkle a little bit plus 800. And like I told you guys, this is a big plus money card. I like a lot of plus money in this. So I'm going to go ahead and snag it and go ahead and jump on it. And that's where I'm kind of going to go with these fights for this weekend. So give me Deiveson Figueiredo win plus 425. Give me Rainier Del Ritter to win against Bo Nickel plus 300. If you did a parlay with this, I mean, my lord, if it hits, that's rent for $2. And then also Danny Rodriguez, I think he's going to win at plus 110. So those were like a lot of underdogs this week. We'll see if it works. If not, well, that stinks. You got 2 title fights we can bet on next week, and we can go ahead and break down all that when it comes as well. We also got news that Dustin Poirier versus Max Holloway for the BMF belt later on this summer. Man, that's going to be an exciting one. Talk about 2 guys that's very hard to, watch fight because it's like, who do you cheer for? They're both so likable. It's like, I love Max Holloway. I also love Dustin Poirier. It's also Dustin's last fight. You kind of want to see him go out on top in the UFC and win some type of belt, man. Just win something. But again, it's going to be awesome. I can't wait for it. Probably going to bet Max Holloway in that fight because it's Max freaking Holloway. And, but, we shall see. Don't want to see Dustin get knocked out, though, in his last fight. Never want to see that. But that's all I got for you. It's Mario Herron. English is hard, as always. And fade if you want, do if you want. Leave a comment if you like it. Leave a comment if you thought it sucked. Leave a comment if you won. Leave a comment if you faded. Thank you guys so much for listening. Make sure to check out the Bull Crew podcast, too. Available where Cheech Podcast and YouTube. And also make sure to like, share, and subscribe if you care. Thank you guys so much for listening. See you next time.